Zuendt Engineering has definitely earned a reputation for being client-focused. What is your approach to understanding and meeting the specific needs of your clients?
Well, you got to listen to them to start. I mean, you got to, when a project starts, you have to sit down and kind of listen to the client right away. You can't just shove something down their throat that you think is going to be approved or passed.
Did you know that only 42% of clients are fully satisfied with the services provided by engineering firms? In an industry where precision and trust are everything, client satisfaction can literally make or break a business. In today's episode, I'm talking with Alexander Zuendt, the owner of Zuendt Engineering, a firm known for exceeding client expectations through innovative, tailored solutions. We're going to talk about his journey as an entrepreneur and how he has built a client-focused culture that drives success. He also provides some great advice on what it takes to be a leader in the ever-evolving world of civil engineering. I'm your host, Anthony Fasano, and this is the Civil Engineering CEO. All right, now I'd like to welcome our guest onto the show for today. Alex Zuendt is the owner of Zuendt Engineering. Alex, welcome to the Civil Engineering CEO.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
So, Alex, start us off by telling us a little bit about your company, where you're located, what type of services do you offer?
So we're a civil and structural engineering company. We're located in Greenville, South Carolina. We also have a satellite office down in Newport Richey. We have about 11 people that work for us altogether. We kind of focus on more of like the commercial site development, residential subdivisions, industrial upfits for, industrial end users like power plants or food processors. And that's kind of where we focus more of our structural side.
That's great. And so I know, Alex, you've had the company for a while now, 12 or so years. Tell us a little bit about, kind of what it took to get to where you are today. Talk us through some of the challenges of growing an engineering firm and just take us through your journey a little bit.
Well, as we know, running an engineering company, it's all about the people and the people that you have working for you. And that's the biggest challenge, trying to find the right people that fit, the culture that we're trying to build. I started the company back in 2012 and took it full-time in 2014 just because I got tired of traveling a bit, kind of had a family, or we're starting to have a family, and just wanted to kind of get back to what I was doing when I started my career. And I kind of was seeing that things weren't really kind of the client wasn't really being focused on. So that's one of the reasons why I started my company, is I wanted to kind of focus on the client, bring a little more business-centric focus into the engineering design. And I have a little background in constructions, and I wanted to bring that into the design work and design and build projects that are actually constructible. And that's one thing in our field that a lot of kids who come out of college, they go right to the CAD side of things. Everything looks great on paper until you try and start building something, and it's like, well, this pipe can't go through this other pipe, and
it's true. It's really true, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I started my career doing survey work and ultimately got into civil engineering. So I was lucky to be out in the field, kind of as an intern in college and seeing construction sites and stuff like that. And then I remember coming in the office and looking at the plans, and you would see like 5 lines going into this catch basin. You're thinking to yourself, like, I don't think 5 pipes can go into one box. It's not really going to work in the field. So I agree with you 100%. I think the idea of getting people site experience, site exposure very early in their career is only going to really help them be a much more practical, civil engineer, structural engineer as they grow in their careers. So I think that that's a great philosophy. And I like your idea of just, you wanted to grow a firm that was more client-centric, client-focused. And so you saw an opportunity to kind of do that yourself, which certainly is something that's not an easy thing to do. I can say by just also similar to you growing EMI here for the last 12 years. And I agree with you 100%. It's all about people in your business, finding the right people, right?
Exactly.
Building that culture, like you mentioned, the culture that you want to have in place for your organization. And I know one of the things that you also really like to focus on is innovation, providing innovative engineering services. Talk a little bit about how you do that, what that means, what does that look like?
So, we could talk about innovation tech and all that. It kind of just comes down to an engineer thinking outside the box and kind of stop going on what your day by day norms are. Where like you have a detention pond. Everyone has those typical details of like detention ponds for site works. Well, it's not going to work everywhere. I mean, there's times where you actually have to kind of really dig down and like think extremely out of the box to make a site work or make a certain project work. And it's very hard to bring through like a reviewing agency because they're not used to seeing something that's completely out of left field that you're making work. And that's where another challenge is like on the regulatory and the permitting side of things, because these reviewers, some of them aren't even engineers. They're just reviewers who get maybe, a week of training looking at plans and a checklist. And if it doesn't check off the checklist, you are going to get your plans rejected and, got to go through another round and deal with that. And sometimes you have to educate the reviewers on, we're doing this. We had to think outside the box. It's going to be similar to a retention pond, but it's going to be somewhat underground, and it's not going to be like your typical ADS chambers because the client can't construct that. So now we got to figure out, or he can't afford that for this project. So we're going to do this, and we're modeling it this way because this is how it's going to work. And you just got to kind of walk them through it. And there's days it's a lot easier than others. I'll put it that way.
I'm sure. Yeah. And I think that's a really good point, because I think that, while I think it's very important to have good standards and, quality control checklists for your projects and making sure everything is buttoned up, I also think we have to make sure that we're not doing cookie cutter engineering work, right? Where, hey, this has a detention pond, like you're saying, so take the stock detail off the shelf, throw it on there, it'll most likely work for this site. That's not always the case, right? And I think what I really like about civil engineering, why I went into civil engineering myself, is because I think there is an ability to get creative, to try to solve a problem, try to help a client, whether it's a public client, a private client, to say, hey, listen, we're not just putting this system in, but we're thinking about the long term for you, the maintenance of it, how it's going to operate effectively, how it's going to be aesthetically to people, right?
Correct.
And so I think that that's a really good lesson for those of you out there that might be, one, either in your career as a designer, as an engineer, thinking about how you can, be a little bit innovative, a little bit different in some of the things that you do. And then or if you're a firm owner listening to this, pushing your people, challenging your people a little bit, saying, maybe we're not going to use the standard detention basin here because of X, Y, Z. Let's see if we can get a little creative and try to do something different and take a collaborative approach. And I think, to Alex's point, it kind of starts with leadership, cultivating that mindset.
Agreed. And kind of like if you're, and it kind of goes back to like going back into the field and understanding how things get built to come and really put that outside the box thinking. And then it also kind of it goes to having the engineer kind of collaborating with the contractors to understand, both sides of the table and cost and factors that the contractors may see, versus, just the regulations and just putting plans together. It's just, our field is, at this point, we should be a lot more collaborative. Like, there's a lot of design build work out there where contractors and engineers are just talking 100%, on this time. And most of the time it's just due to cost implications. A lot of it, it should be also kind of talked about a little more on like how the contractor needs to build it for the client. And that way you can work your plans around that dilemma that contractor has.
Yeah, it's a really good point, because I think years ago, people would say engineers and architects and contractors could never be on the same team together, right? But now with these new project delivery processes like design build, design bid build, you are on the same team.
Correct.
And so, learning to collaborate more effectively is important. And again, there's no collaboration one-on-one class in a civil engineering curriculum. So a lot of this is learned on the job. A lot of it is, like Alex said earlier, getting people exposed to get out in the field and interact with people, or watch you interact with people if they can shadow you a little bit. And I think that's why, as part of growing a company, we try to do this at EMI, is it's also nice to hook people up with similar backgrounds to do mentoring. Maybe someone's got a little bit more experience than someone else, because really, like, you're not going to learn those kind of things in a book. You're not going to learn those kind of things on the computer. You're going to learn those kind of things by interacting with people, and you have to put people in positions to get better at that, essentially.
Well, and to your point, I think all the work that I've done in the past 20 years since I graduated college, 90% of it was learned on the job and not in the book. Like, college, you're learning just the basics of, what it is, how water flows downhill, how to keep it in pipe or in a ditch, versus, all right, now we have this site. How do we make this work all together? It's just a lot of real world experience. And I expect, if you have, for the young kids who are out there listening who are in college and thinking, or trying to figure out what they're going to do for their career, please go work internships and try and get as much experience right away. Even if you could talk to your bosses to stay on part-time during school or find someone close by, just that extra experience is extremely valuable.
Absolutely. And I would say, if you're a leader in a firm, develop a good system for a good internship program, right? A good mentorship program, right? I kind of think of it as like, in sports, a Major League Baseball team has a AAA team. They have a farm system. They have a minor league system that they're bringing people up from. You have to think about that as a firm. You have to have an internship program where you can cultivate new team members and get them into your culture early on, and do some of the stuff that Alex is referring to, like get them out in the field with you, get them shadowing when they're younger, right? And that's a big part, I think, of growing a firm long-term, is thinking about how you develop your people, meaning bring them in at a very young age and develop them, because it's very hard to find people that are mid-level managers these days that are just ready to find and hire them and bring them into your organization. It's a very competitive market. So if you can kind of raise them yourself, if you will, it's a great strategy for growing a business.
And we're also in a massive engineering shortage because of that 2008 crash. A lot of people kind of got out of our business because there wasn't a business there.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. That's a problem.
In 2008 through 2012.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a winning equation right now. We're getting a lot of work and infrastructure work, but we have less people to do it. So those two things don't really add up, which can make for a rocky road for firms.
I'm still trying to figure out how I have hair and it's not gray yet.
Yeah, right. So, Alex, Zuendt Engineering has definitely earned a reputation for being client-focused. What is your approach to understanding and meeting the specific needs of your clients?
Well, you got to listen to them to start. I mean, you got to, when a project starts, you have to sit down and kind of listen to the client right away. You can't just shove something down their throat that you think is going to be approved or passed. You do have to sit and take the time and understand where they're coming from. Most of the times, we're working with repeat clients that understand the business, but a lot of times you have brand new clients that are really don't know what to expect on the process. And sometimes we have to get out of the mold of our engineer speak a lot.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest things. Like, some clients, they don't understand the engineering terminology and whatnot. So I like to break things down, and it comes from working in construction for about 8 years and trying to explain an engineering topic to an iron worker is a very challenging way of communication. So if engineers can actually break it down into real world normal terminology that most people can understand, that helps build that relationship with the clients and makes a much more simpler project path usually.
Yeah.
Until you get to the regulation 100%. Side of things, and then you hit your head up against a brick wall.
Right. Yeah, and I like what you said, because again, as engineers, we're very structured, we're very habit driven, and it's easy to sit down again and just start your project right off the bat. When you get a new project, go through your process, get your documents out.
Yep.
But like you said, sitting down with the client and really listening to them at the very beginning and understanding what their needs are is going to help you to make sure you could still use your project delivery process, but you can tweak it a little bit to kind of what they're looking for. And I think that can mean all the difference, especially in an industry where I would say 70 to 90% of most firms' work is repeat work. That's
Agreed.
a really important thing to do. So I think that that's critical. And I think what you said at the end there about communicating with contractors and people in the field, I would imagine that if you were ranking kind of all the different things that you've done and how helpful they've been to you growing the business, I'd have to imagine that construction experience would be up towards the top.
It is. I mean, that's just understanding a problem before it happens is very key, and kind of being able to visualize the problem without having to go out to the site helps out as well.
Right.
Especially nowadays with all of us, we're all understaffed and all under, everyone's under major deadlines trying to get projects out the door. So we're all trying to fit as much into our day as possible. You can't just go out to every job site, just to get that extra information. So being able to visualize things with a couple of pictures that the contractor sends you or the client, and then understanding your design and trying to put it all together in like a 3-dimensional model in your head is a whole lot very beneficial to a successful project.
For sure. And it's probably really hard to do if you haven't done it, if you haven't had that experience of being out there. So that's why it's just so valuable. So let's talk a little bit about infrastructure, Alex. From your experience, what have you found to be some of the key trends that are kind of shaping the future of infrastructure development, and how is Zuendt Engineering kind of positioning itself to stay ahead of these trends?
So, I mean, I know there's a big push right now for EVs. So you see a lot of that infrastructure, especially in South Carolina, where we've had a big push by our Commerce Department to get into the EV.
EV being electric vehicles, right?
Yeah, the electric vehicle market. So you see a lot of that, coming up on site designs where people are like, hey, we have to throw out chargers and et cetera for that electric vehicle that's starting to make a push.
Yeah.
I also see that our infrastructure is completely crumbling. I mean, we're located in Greenville, South Carolina, and we're just about an hour south of Asheville, where we just watched the hurricane destroy most of Western North Carolina. And
right. Sure.
Just even, in a time where we have all these design codes and we're planning for the 100-year storm and all these massive events, and then we watch a massive devastation that just happened in the past week.
Yeah.
So I think we just need a full-on reboot on how we think about infrastructure and how we make it more harden our infrastructure a little better so we don't have issues like this again. And I don't think it's being worked on anywhere, really. I think it's something that just needs to kind of be focused on a lot more on a national and then local focus.
Right. So you're saying like our entire approach to infrastructure
Correct.
Probably needs some updating, if you will.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, I understand. It's something that is obviously a problem, and everything that we just talked about already, shortage of engineers,
exactly,
failing infrastructure, it doesn't all fit together well. But
exactly.
All right, let's finish up today getting into leadership.
Sure.
We've talked a few times about how, people in your organization are the organization. They are everything. And when you're a leader who's kind of overseeing a dynamic team of people, what are some of the key leadership principles or philosophies that you follow to ensure that your team is, motivated, they're productive, they're working towards a goal? Just take us through some of your leadership insights or what you try to practice.
Well, the biggest thing that I do is I take a hands-off approach more. I let the people actually get the work done. And I don't like to micromanage people at all. I mean, I give you a project, you're an engineer, you gotta figure some things out on your own. And then, if you come to a sticking point, then come and talk. I'm not going to design the project for you, when you're, this is your job. So that's one of the biggest things that, I do as a leader, and I kind of ask my people to do is like, we have people here that actually are supposed to, they say they know what they're doing. Let's teach them, like on the newer kids, let's teach them kind of the fundamentals on how we want to see projects done, kind of walk them through a little bit, and then let's let them go. Let's let them try and figure things out. Let's see where they come out when they do a set of calculations for stormwater or for some steel design. Let's see where things are. Let's give them a first pass, and then show them, all right, we like what you did here. You did a good job, but if you do this, and this might make it a little easier, and kind of just give them a little guidance at that point, but not handhold them or kind of micromanage every little bit of the process around them. Because I feel like when people feel like they're micromanaged, you're not going to get the best out of them.
Right.
You gotta let them do and kind of let them feel like they're being, valuable, to the company. And then you gotta have a heart with the people. I mean, we're all humans. We're not, we're not machines at a certain point. So you gotta be able to give some flexibility, allow some people to, just be able to live life as
we're not robots, that's for sure.
We're not robots. Life happens. I mean, I have 4 kids, so I'm the first one to say that, you can't pigeonhole people into that normal 8 to 5 hours. Right. Sometimes they gotta be able to work, maybe a little more on one day and then a little less on another day, as long as the project deadlines are being met and the projects are getting done, work with it from there.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can't script your days out. I mean, it's not how it works when you have people that are working for you, because everyone's life is different. Like you said, people have whatever it is, kids, they're taking care of their parents.
Yeah.
There's lots of stuff that can go on in life, which we've all seen in a big way over the last 5 years for sure.
Agreed.
And I think the firms that can flex a little bit with their team members, given that space, is going to be valuable. And I think from a leadership perspective, I kind of like that approach as well, kind of that hands-off approach. And to me, there's kind of 3 steps to that, which is one of them is like making sure people have the support, the tools, the resources they need, of course.
Yeah.
But then secondly, like you said, kind of they're going to have to do some stuff and figure it out and work on it. But then importantly, that third and last step, which you said, was giving them the feedback, right? Hey, you did this really good, but maybe you could tweak this a little bit and do a little bit better next time. Or, hey, this went really well, but hey, maybe if you reach out to this client, a little bit earlier in the process, you're going to get a little bit more feedback. So
Good.
I think that's a great approach, right? Give them the tools they need, let them do it though on their own, and then follow up and make sure you're giving them that feedback. And obviously, the thing about leadership is there's no engineering equation for it. Every person's different, right? So you have to kind of get a feel for each person, understand how long of a leash someone can have, how much guidance someone else needs. But I think having a general philosophy as a leader is a good thing for someone to establish in terms of how they're going to lead. And, for example, like a hands-off approach is one way to do it that I think is really good, because I think it helps people to grow. So
Agreed.
I think that's a great approach.
And with
Alex, go ahead.
And with all the tools that are available to, everyone nowadays, I mean, you have to allow them to be able to, you can pull up codes and everything on your computer, with the internet, versus when we started, you had to go find a book and everything and try and figure it out, or go buy that book, so it's a lot different.
When I took the PE exam way back when, you were able to bring as many books as you wanted, and everyone said, oh, that's an amazing thing. The problem with it, though, is that people had so many books and they were going through them and they were wasting all their time. It made the exam harder. So,
correct.
You got to be able to operate efficiently, whatever the scenario is that you're in front of, and that's going to continue to change.
Yes.
Technology and other things happen. But if you have a good support system in place, you have a good culture in place, you can be successful. And I think that's the important thing here. Alex, what final piece of advice can you give to aspiring civil engineers and entrepreneurs who want to establish their own firms and succeed in the AEC industry? So
the biggest thing is you're going to, if you have to learn how to go out and drive that work. That's the biggest thing. I mean, getting out, building a network, going out and networking with people, which I know sometimes is very hard for a lot of engineers. You know, so a lot of us, I've been blessed. I can go out and talk to people. A lot of engineers have a hard time talking to people and getting out and getting to know different people. So that's, I think, the biggest thing. You have to go out and get out and put yourself out there. It's not who you know, it's who knows you.
Right.
You know, and that was a biggest thing. When I started my firm, I had a mentor that told me that, and it kind of made sense. And ever since then, you'll see me out and about on different networking events, trying to, you know, stay in front of, you know, certain clients, you know, like ULI or different organizations. ASCE is good.
Right.
Just as long as you stay out there and people see you, see your name, you got to learn some marketing, got to learn the accounting side of things. There's a whole lot to it. It's not just, you know, sending an invoice out, and, you know, make sure you get the right people in the right places, or the right sub-consultants to help you out. It's not the easiest of all things, but it's well rewarding if you push through and stay focused on everything.
Yeah, for sure. No, I would agree with that 100%. It's not an easy road, but it's definitely a rewarding road. And, you know, I would just say for any of you out there that are civil engineers, regardless of whether you're going to build your own business or not, building relationships, interacting with people, it's just key to everything you're going to do in your career, because, you know, like I said, most of these firms exist and thrive off repeat work. So even if you're just delivering project work and you're not maybe owning a company or growing a company, by doing great project work, then the client might come back again, right? So you're always kind of helping the company grow, doing business development in some way, shape, or form. And it's something that you need to be cognizant of and be aware of. A lot of civil engineers will say, like, I don't do sales. That's not what I do. Well, you are doing sales just by doing your project work effectively.
Exactly.
So you need to be aware of that.
And if you're starting a firm, you're going to have to figure out sales, because, I mean, work doesn't just automatically show up.
That's your lifeline. Yeah. Absolutely. So, and Alex, go ahead.
And answer the phone. That's one thing that I hear from clients that was a very big thing, you know, for me, is I like to be very responsive to clients. You know, I mean, obviously there's times where you can't answer the phone right away, but at least let them know, hey, I'm stuck in a meeting. I'll call you back in a half hour, and then call back at that point.
Yeah, no, it's true. They say this in sports, and I think it goes for business. The best ability is availability.
Correct.
Right? If you're available for people, you're around, you're able to help, then you're going to go places. If you're not, you're not. That's kind of the bottom line. I found that in business as well. So, Alex Zuendt, owner of Zuendt Engineering, I want to thank you so much for spending some time with us today here on the Civil Engineering CEO.
Well, I appreciate your time. It was fun.
I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Alex. Building a business is hard, and he's doing a great job of it. And I'm happy that he came on and shared some of the strategies that he's using. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe to our channel here. We put out videos like this on a weekly basis to help engineers become better managers and leaders. I'll see you next week.